In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about the settings and functions of the Wolfcom third eye. Please have a unit in your hand during this demonstration. First thing I'm going to point out is that you have 4 buttons here. The buttons are Power, Menu, your secondary record button, and then your Mode button. So first, before we start, we want to make sure that your OTR switch is in up position. And the reason why we want to make sure that the OTR button is in up position is because if it was in a down position and we powered on the unit, it will begin recording. So first, let's make sure that the OTR switch is in up position. And now let's go ahead and press the power button for 2 seconds. And the unit will power on. Now the unit will power on and it will not be recording, and you know it's not recording because there's no red flashing icon on the top left. So looking at the screen, on the top right you have your battery level indicator. Here you have how much recording length you have left of memory. So here we have about 8 hours and 45 minutes and 18 seconds left. Here on the bottom left you have your unique identifier. It's a number that's unique to every Wolfcom third eye, and this is a number that will be assigned to each officer. On the top left you have an icon, and right now we are in video mode, and it says 1080p because the resolution right now is set at 1080p. So the Wolfcom third eye has 4 modes. The modes are video, camera mode, voice recording mode, and playback mode. And right now we are in video mode. So to toggle between the 4 modes, we push the mode button here. So let's go ahead and do that together. Let's push it one time, and that will take us to the camera mode. And we know that we're in a camera mode because there's a camera icon here, and it's set at 8 megapixels. Now if you look here on the bottom middle of the screen, on mine it says 1,206, actually 12,605. That means that I can take 12,605 digital images. And here we have a unique identifier number still there. Now we press mode again, that will take you to voice record. And this is where you're going to go ahead and record audio or victims or witnesses statements. And if we press it one more time, it takes us to the last mode, the 4th one, which is playback mode. And here's where we could play back all your files. Now just to show you something, if you're in playback mode and you press down on your joystick, it'll show all your files in thumbnail view. In this one I only have 1 file here. So let's do that again. Let's go ahead and press the mode button. Press enter. Okay, so let's go ahead and press the mode button, and that toggles from the video to picture taking mode to voice record and to video playback mode. So you see this mode button toggles between video, camera, voice recorder, and playback mode. Okay, so now let's do something. Let's go back to video mode. So if you have a unit in your hand, let's go ahead and press mode until you see the video icon on top left. Once you're at this screen, let's go ahead and press the bottom button, which is the menu button, and that will take you to the menu screen. Now the Wolfcom third eye is password protected. That means that no files or settings can be changed or deleted without the password. So for the purpose of this demonstration, let's go ahead and deactivate the password. So let's go ahead and push the joystick down, and let's scroll all the way down to password. Now right now it says password and the setting is yes. It's set on yes, which means that it will always ask you for a password no matter what you do. If you're going to play back if you're going to change a setting or if you're going to delete files. So we want to deactivate the password feature. So let's go ahead and press right on the joystick, and it will ask you for a password. Now the default password for the Wolfcom Third Eye is 999888. If you've already changed your password, then you would go ahead and enter your new password. So let's go ahead and press 999888, and then move the joystick to highlight OK and press inward on the joystick. And you should take you back to the screen. So let's go ahead and press right on the joystick, and you'll see it says set. Now we're not setting a new password. In fact, we just want to deactivate password. So let's go ahead and press it again to no. And that's what we want. We don't want any more passwords, function, or features. So let's go ahead and press enter on the joystick to select that. And now password is deactivated. So it just took us back to the regular video screen. So let's go back to menu by pressing menu. Okay. So here we are back at the menu screen. And the first selection is the video solution. This is where you can change your video's resolution. On default, it's set at 1920 by 1080p, which is the highest resolution. If you press your joystick to the right, the next setting gives you is 1280 by 720p, and that's still high resolution, high def. The next selection is 848 by 480 at 60 frames per second. If we do it again, it'll take you to the last video resolution, 848 by 480, but this time at 30 frames per second. So this is where you're going to go ahead and change your screen resolution. Now, the lower your screen resolution, the more memory you'll be able to save. The higher the resolution, the higher quality of the picture, but the more memory you're going to be using. Now keep in mind that the Wolfcom Third Eye has 32 gigabytes of internal memory, so that's a lot. So if you want, you can go ahead and just leave it at 1080p. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 1920 by 1080. Okay. The next one down is white balance, contrast, and sharpness. Now, I recommend just leaving this as it is. The Wolfcom Third Eye works fine at these settings, but for those of you who want to tinker with it a bit, you can go ahead and change these settings and experiment with it. But for this video, I'm going to go ahead and skip those three. The next one is recycle. Recycle, record. And it's set at 10 minutes on default. Now I'm going to explain to you what recycle, record is for. Right now it's set on 10 minutes. And that means that when you begin recording video, every 10 minutes it will save a 10-minute file. So if you're recording for 30 minutes of continuous recording, then what the Wolfcom Third Eye does is that every 10 minutes it will save one 10-minute file. So if you're recording for 30 minutes, at the end of 30 minutes you will have 3 10-minute files. Now the next setting for that one, or selection, is 15 minutes. And so if you set it for 15 minutes and you're recording continuously for 30 minutes, at the end of your 30 minutes you'll have 2 15-minute files. There's 30 minutes, and there's 45 minutes, and then there's no. No means that it will not save any files of any recording length. If you set it to no, and you continuously record for, let's say, 2 hours, then when you stop recording, it will save one 2-hour file. If you're recording for, let's say, 3 hours, then at the end of 3 hours, it will record and save only one 3-hour file, a very long file. The next option is 1 minute. If you set it to 1 minute, that means that it will save a 1-minute file every minute. So if you're recording continuously for, let's say, 60 minutes, at the end of that 60 minutes, you're going to have 60 1-minute files. Next one is 5 minutes, and then 10 minutes. Okay, so let's go to the next one, loop record. Now loop record has two settings, off and on. On default it's set to off. Now what is loop record? Loop record means that if we set it to on, what it does is that once the 32 gigabyte memory is full, then it will loop and will record over the oldest file. So it's always recording in a loop. If you set it to off, then what happens is once the 32 gigabyte memory is full, it will stop recording. So on default, it's set to off. If you want to set it for loop recording, you can go ahead and change it and leave it on and press enter on joystick to select it. Okay. The next one is motion detect. Now this is just a fun feature that we just added here for the hell of it. You don't really need to use it during your regular police work, but with motion detect, if you leave it to on, then what it does is that you could set the Wolfcom third eye, let's say set it on a table in an empty room, and when somebody walks by, it will detect the motion and will begin recording video and audio. And once the motion has stopped or the person has left the room, then the video recording will stop. Once again, this is just a fun feature. We just put it in here, an extra feature, but you really don't need to use it during your normal police work. I'm going to go ahead and set it to off. Car mode. Now, if you're going to use the Wolfcom third eye as a car DVR police car dash cam, you want to go ahead and set it to on. And the reason why is that once you have this set into your police car and you mounted the Wolfcom third eye on your windshield and it's plugged into your cigarette lighter, then every time you start the car, it will know that it's in car mode, and once you start the car, it will begin recording automatically. And every time you shut off the car, it will stop recording. So if you're going to use this as a car DVR, please set this on the car mode to on. But if you're going to use it as a police body camera, please set it to off. Next, audio. Audio is the audio recording, the microphone on this one. There are two selections. There's normal and there's off. If you set it to off, then every time you activate your OTR switch to record video, it will not record audio. It will only record video and not audio. The reason why we have this feature is because in some countries it is illegal to record audio, but it is perfectly legal to record video. On default, we have it to normal. And normal means that when you flick your OTR switch down to begin recording, it will automatically record audio and video. So both audio and video. So if you're in a state where it's perfectly legal for you to record audio and video, you want to set this to normal. The next one is screen timer. On default, screen timer is always on. Now there's two settings. There's always on, always off, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, and 1 minute, and back to always on. Now I'm going to explain what screen timer is. Screen timer affects this screen here, the display. Now if you've noticed, when you activated your OTR switch to begin recording audio and video, the screen comes on and stays on. Well, what if you don't want it to stay on? What if you want it so that every time you activate the OTR switch, you don't want the screen to come on. You want the unit to begin recording audio and video, but you want the screen to stay off. That way the light from the screen doesn't give away your position in darkness. Well then, you set it to always off. So when you set it to always off, then every time you activate your OTR switch, the screen will never come on. The unit will power on and begin recording audio and video, but the screen will stay off. If you set it to 10 seconds, then what that does is that every time you activate the OTR button to begin recording audio and video, the screen will come on, but after 10 seconds, it will turn off again. And the next setting is 30 seconds. So if you set it for 30 seconds, then what that means is that when you activate the OTR switch to begin recording audio and video, then after 30 seconds, the screen will deactivate, but the audio and video recording will continue. It's a good feature, and it's also a power saving mode because the screen takes up power. So by having the screen off while recording audio and video, it'll prolong your battery life. Same thing if you set it for 1 minute. Once you activate the OTR button, after 1 minute, the LCD screen will shut off, but the unit will still continue recording audio and video. So for this demonstration, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it on always on. The next one is volume. The volume is the volume for the entire unit. So right now it's set at 10. So if I was to lower the volume, you notice the volume decreases all the way to no volume. By pushing joystick to the right, I can increase the volume. Now, if you notice during the OTR activation, the unit makes a sound when it starts up. So if you don't want that sound, you can go ahead and lower it or deactivate it here. Okay. The next one is automatic power off. This is just a power saving feature. It's set at 3 minutes for default. The options are 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and off. 1 minute and back to 3 minutes. So on default it's on 3 minutes. And what does this do? Well, when you're not recording video, and remember this, when you're not recording video and you're just playing back files or you're just messing with the unit, and if you have it set at 3 minutes, then after 3 minutes of not using the unit, let's say you got a phone call and you set this down, after 3 minutes it'll automatically shut off, saving you power. If you set it for 5 minutes, then if you set the unit down, after 5 minutes it will automatically turn off. Now this feature does not work during video recording mode. So if you're out in the field and you've activated your OTR button, don't worry, this doesn't affect it. This only affects if you're not recording video, if you're just messing with the unit. Let's say you're playing back files or changing settings. You set the unit down to answer your phone and you forgot about it. After 5 minutes, it just shut off, just to save power. If you leave it on off, then the unit will always stay on no matter what, and until the battery dies. So on default, we just set it for 3 minutes. Okay, the next one down is a stamp, and this is just a timestamp. Now on default it's on because of course you want timestamp on your video and on your images. If you set it to off, then there's no timestamp, no date and timestamp on your video. So I suggest you leave it on. The next one is a date and time, and this is where you're going to go ahead and change and set the time. Now there's two ways to set the time. One, you could do it manually here. Okay, you set the date and time here. But I want to show you something else. The next one down is GPS. Let me just go back there really quick. Next one is GPS. If you have GPS on, then once it gets a signal, it's going to go ahead and automatically set the time for you to the correct time. But that's also affected by time zone, which is here. So -8 is a time zone for California. And so I'm in California now, so I set it on -8, and on default it's a -8. But if you're in New York or you're in another part of the world, you're going to have to set your time zone, whether it be -8, -7, or whatever it is in your zone. And when you do, you should do this first. Make sure GPS is on, and once it grabs a signal, it's going to go ahead and automatically set the date for you accurately. If you want to do the date and time manually, you can, but you do have to turn off the GPS feature off, or else it's going to go ahead and set the time and date for you automatically. I suggest that you just go ahead first manually set the date and time, set your time zone, and make sure GPS is on, and let it just do it automatically for you. Okay. Next one is password, and we were here earlier, and this is where you can set your password. So I don't think I need explanation here, but if you do need to set your password, you would just move the joystick to set, and then press the joystick in and then set your new password. Next one is reset. Now if you reset, there's two options, no and yes. Yes will reset everything, all the settings to the default settings of the menu of the Wolfcom Third Eye. So if you think you messed something up, you can go ahead and reset it. Now there's two ways, two resets. One is through here, and another one is through this reset button here. Now this one is used in the event that your Wolfcom Third Eye unit freezes. And it could freeze because it's a computer, and sometimes when you're pushing too many buttons at once, it gets confused and it might lock up and freeze. So if that's the case, you go ahead and take a pen and just press this button here, and it will reboot your system. But the reset here basically just resets all your settings back to default. Okay. Next one is format. Now this is where you can format the memory inside. So let's say you have a whole bunch of videos here and a lot of files, and you want to format everything and erase it. This is where you do it, and you would move the cursor or move the joystick to yes and press anywhere on the joystick, and it will format everything, deleting all the video, image, voice files, data files in there. Next one is language. We have Spanish, we have English and Chinese, and we will be adding Russian and a lot of other languages in the future. But for now, it's Chinese, English, Spanish. Next one down is your unit ID. Now this is the unit ID which is unchangeable for now, but later versions we might be able to make it so that police department can change it to and maybe replace it with their badge number or their own unique number. But for now, this is where you would find the unique ID number for each individual Wolfcom Third Eye unit. And this is the same number that pops up on the left side of the screen, and the same number that's going to be stamped onto every image and video file, along with the date and time stamp and the latitude and longitude coordinates. You know what? Let me just change the language back to English really quick. There you go. Okay. Version is the version number, and then you have your batch number, Wolfcom USA 1. And this is one way to know that you're not using a counterfeit product, is that our batch number will show up here as Wolfcom USA 1. If you have a unit that does not say Wolfcom USA 1, you should probably contact us immediately because you might have a counterfeit model. And that concludes the settings and functions of the Wolfcom Third Eye.